Hi, welcome. My name is Dale McCluskey. And on this video, I'd like to take just a minute to discuss the mainstream script or interpretation through conditioning that by rewarding, okay, for a desired behavior, okay, that it makes it more likely that that behavior is going to happen again, okay, at the response level, that the dog is going to do a certain behavior again. And that is true. Okay, I mean, if you reward for and this is the premise of using treats or praise or whatever to incentivize the at the response level, the behavior. Okay, this is now here. You just have to stay with me to understand. I'm going to talk about why this theory falls apart relationally for people based on this kind of one-dimensional way of interpreting how a dog thinks, why this falls apart. You have to go deeper. Now again, this is very common, this issue of conditioning. Now I followed this many years ago. I started out this way before I started to see the problems here as it relates to why this falls apart for some people and why it's so problematic at just putting this learning-based narrative out there. Now again, yes, you can reward, and however, it's about motives. Dogs are relational beings. It's just like, now compare this example, take this to the human world with incentivizing behavior through, say, a child. That you're going to reward, you're going to incentivize behavior, and so you're going to look for, you want the desired behavior. However, when it comes to influence, parental influence, investing in the relationship through discipline, and again, this is where you get this whole twisted narrative about what is, what is physical force and dominance and all, and leadership. In this twisted narrative, it's no different. Okay, how a child's, say, decision-making process, how they think is influenced, and you look at the 4 styles of parenting, you look at the issues with permissive parenting. Again, you'll see why learning theory falls to pieces with how it's applied in the dog-human relationship. So, so you can reward over and over again, but you still cannot escape this issue of motives, relational motives, as to what underpins response, the reasons why the dog is doing the things they do, the wanting and desire, the motivation. And this is where relationally I show this disconnect between, and again, you have to connect this to a dog's decision-making process this way, or be able to connect it properly to be able to qualify whether or not unwanted behavior is diminishing. And this is the thing about relationally understanding what does unwanted behavior really represent. It's based on this issue of fulfillment, of this issue of how a dog's decision-making process is negatively impacted as there's a relational misalignment happening. And so a dog will start to gain power. Okay, and this issue about what is power, well, you have to look at the elevation levels of a dog's decision-making process, how that connects together. Now again, getting back to this thing about rewarding for a certain position, okay, a behavior or a response, that does not necessarily mean that change is happening. This is the thing that totally blows everything out of the water, why it is that people who are incorporating these concepts in, right out of the starting gate, you start messing around with this learning-based narrative. They start to work off this premise of a assumed state of mind without filtering it through relationally, why it all falls to pieces. So I just want people to be aware that you can incentivize, you can influence and build off and create a picture, okay, just like you can in the human world. But then, the same thing applies. It doesn't mean the child has any respect at all for the parent. You're just putting a reward system in place, and you're incentivizing because the child doesn't have the ability to obtain that on their own, and they're probably become too selfish to want to do it anyway. Okay, it's the same breakdown. So people really need to understand these concepts. While they sound great and they look great on paper, okay, this is what's being promoted. In the real world, you apply it to the real world reality check, it all falls to pieces. So anyway, just something to think about when you're looking at learning theory. It's really understanding dogs are social relational beings. So right out of the starting gate, it's very important that training is approached for what it is. It's a relational changing process. So change needs to come in and through the person. So how the change is defined, I show how the script needs to set up. There's a sequence that needs to be followed to make sure people aren't deceived by this picture. So learning theory, again, it sounds tremendous. It sounds, people want to promote it as being scientific. There's serious problems here, and it's the fact that people are not looking at the motives. You can look at, you can influence a dog to do certain things, but dogs are relational beings. There's motives attached, okay? If you look at the issue of what type of influence is happening, trainers aren't doing it. They're just giving it a green light. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day.